Hello and welcome to Satv's International Affairs Special Edition. My name is Rashid Kanchon as your host, and I have a very terrific panel today. Very knowledgeable, very experienced Professor Dr. Imtiaz, former Professor of Dhaka University International Relations, and Air Commodore Ishfaq Elahi, former service holder and one of the top officials at Bangladesh Air Force. And we have our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho. First, let me talk with Shamsul Alam Pantho. What are the world top news headlines trending that we can pick for our today's discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Kanchan. A warm good afternoon to our viewers and to my dear panelists as well. Thank you for being here. I would like to first pick out that only 73 aid trucks were allowed into Gaza as the famine expands, as according to local authorities. Of course, because of such a humanitarian crisis, results of the famine, at least 133 people have died, including 87 children. Alongside, Donald Trump is on a 5-day visit in Scotland, and he of course had met European Commission leader President Ursula von der Leyen in order to understand what kind of tariff package the US will share with the EU. And as we speak, as of this moment, at 1 p.m. local time, Malaysia is acting as a mediator between Thailand and Cambodia in what we know as a deadly border tensions have taken place. Today would be the 5th day of such an event. And of course, Malaysia plans on bringing stability back into the region.
There are more issues in my hand. I want to start from global and Middle East. Israel-Gaza conflict. Israel has begun a daily pause in fighting across 3 Gaza regions to permit minimum humanitarian aid delivers. My question would be to Professor Imtiaz, sir. They are trying to give a space for humanitarian help, but they are bombing on the humanitarian crowd. How do you see this?
No, it's very unfortunate that what Israel is doing is clear case of genocide. There's no doubt about it. But you know, if you look a little bit inside, without the United States support and also some of the European countries' support, I don't think Israel could have done or what the thing that they have done they could do. There's a complicit role of the United States in this genocide, and we see now thousands of people coming out almost every day in different cities of the United States, in Europe. Yesterday also Berlin had a big demonstrations against Germany. Because if you look at the weapons that Israel uses against Gaza and West Bank, 99% are provided by United States and Germany. These are 2 countries. And it's sad, it's very sad because the American people have come against it. This time the Jews have come against it, and they have pointed out, not in my name. But still, because of the military industrial complex, because of the Israeli lobby, and I said I don't know whether in this show or some other show, I said United States should just declare Israel to be a 51 state of the United States. You know, in that way it solves. At least the apartheid regime that is there now will cease to exist. There will be US laws applicable to Israel. Make it 51 state and do whatever you are doing. But to be, to be part of, to be complicit in this genocide, what is happening is this whole idea of Western civilization is getting eroded. And it's so sad because there are a good number of people, there are a good number of institutions over the years that they have done, but all are collapsing. So it's really a tragic, particularly at a time when everyone can see what genocide is all about. This is the first time people are seeing live genocide, and this is going to remain in our head. And the head of the children and you know, generation after generation. So it's sad. I think it's time that Western countries should wake up and stop this genocide and try to resolve the issue in the Palestine.
But it is a 90 years long conflict, and without the support of United States, it would be tough to survive this country in the Middle East. I want to take the same issues to Air Commodore Ishfaq Elahi. Graphic images of starving children have intensified pressure on Australia's Prime Minister Albanese to move beyond 8 pledges, with calls rising to sanction Israel and recognize a Palestinian state. So, do you think it is practically, technically, politically and logically possible?
You are talking about the Australian scenario. I doubt if, you know, it will move to that much, but there is a pressure from the Australian people, especially in the academia. It is the pressure is there, but because of their alliance with the United States, especially members of the Quad and all, they won't take that much here. But what I want to, while I agree with Professor Imtiaz about the issues that he has raised, I fully agree that there is it's nothing but a genocide going on, and in fact, because there is nothing else to bomb there, they are bombing the population crowd, you see,
crowded
because
place.
there is nothing else to bomb. Everything has been destroyed. But having said that, there are 2 points I need to bring out. One is the silence of the Arab world. Totally. While we are talking about protests in Australia, protests in the United States, protests all across Europe, what about the Arab nations? We know that their people cannot come out without the, you know, they don't have any freedom of speech. So they, other than the government's permission, but the major countries like the Soviet, I mean the Saudi Arabia or Kuwait and Qatar and Dubai, they are very quiet, and they are even Egypt, you see. So that is one thing. And second thing is that while this is going on, what about the peace initiative? You see, the whole thing is, I feel that there are 50 plus hostages are still there. If somehow or other they are released, then there will be absolutely no reason for Israel to continue. So while we also urge upon the Israelis to stop bombing, I think there should be a process of negotiation that is to with the Hamas to release this, and the pressure on Hamas also to release these 50 plus hostages, because they are not gaining anything by keeping these hostages over there. They are not achieving any, I don't think they are achieving any tactical or strategic advantage. Rather the people of Gaza, they are suffering, and the whole Palestinian issue is also going backward. The Gaza's tragedy is coming forward. So I think there should be these two issues should be looked into,
addressed into the international forums. I just have a similar question to Shamsul Alam Panto, as you are following Middle East crisis
Yes.
since few months I have seen. Do you think that 55 hostages is a concern for Western countries, United States and Israel, but they are not concerning about the 59,000 people dying in Gaza? How do you see the Arabs, their steps to this?
Well, even on a previous show, I've said that the Arab states, their silence is showing the entire world how they are not being the helpful kind into their own region, given that Israel's proximity to all the Arab nations are quite so in the same corridor. Right now, the tragedy and the casualty stands at nearing 60,000 deaths. So this is a matter of humanitarian concern. Not only so, of course, Qatar and Egypt have tried various times to sit for a negotiation between Hamas and the respective parties in Israel. Also, let me give you another statistic here. At least 18,500 Israeli soldiers have lost their lives as this outbreak post October 7, 2023 has taken place. And of course, 55 hostages, if they were to be transferred to the Israeli government, or likely so, they cannot reclaim or rebuild Gaza. Like we see in the Russian and Ukraine escalation, European countries are coming out and promising Ukraine that they will rebuild and reconstruct Ukraine after such a war situation has ended. But none such Arabian, if you would call it, or none such Arab countries are coming forward in addressing this issue, which definitely shows us how much of conspiracy they hold between Israel and Palestine.
the things are going to be complicated more. I just want to shift into Russia-Ukraine war, sir. I know we have done so many shows with you and you have a very clear message about the Russia-Ukraine war future. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky signed legislation weakening anti-corruption agencies, promoting protest. Ukraine-Russia drone strikes remain escalating amid stalled ceasefire talks. ABC News is saying so. Do you think that Russia-Ukraine war will be ended soon, or it will be another prolonged war history in Europe?
Before I respond to that, I want to go back to both Pantho and Ishfaq Bhai on this issue of Arab world being silent. We have to be very careful of what we are saying, because the Arab people are demonstrating every day. It's not coming out in our newspaper, unfortunately. In Cairo, in Amman, in Turkey, every day, thousands and thousands of demonstrations. The issue is the elite, or those who are in power, they are in the pocket of the United States. Look at the number of US military bases in the Middle East.
Over 22.
And the Jordan king said the other day, very frankly, he said that if I say against US, I will be removed. There will be a regime change. And we are familiar with the word regime change in the Middle East. Look at the number of regime change that the United States was involved in whole of Africa. Whenever there was an independent movement, the person was removed. You know, name anyone and one can go one after another. So it's not that the Arab world is silent. You know, I have to differ on that. The Arab world is coming out very sharply. Even Al Jazeera, look at Al Jazeera, in fact. The Palestinians,
continuous reporting.
Absolutely. The Palestinians have really appreciated what Al Jazeera did with all the pressure. You know. So my point is we have to be very careful. The Arab world is not committing genocide. There is a difference between the European countries and the United States. The European countries, their governments are committing genocide. That's the point. Or complicit in genocide. The Arab world, you can say indirectly, but they are not silent. The only point is the elite is unfortunately is in the pocket of the United States. So the moment if they want to do something different, they will be removed. So I think we have to be we have to be spot on this. Otherwise, we demean what the Arab world is working or thinking about at this stage. Coming back to the question that you have raised on Russia-Ukraine war, I think this is one can, with the protest and with this anti-corruption issue, that institution getting dismantled, this is a signal where I think Zelensky's time is up. It's a clear case. The war in Ukraine will end very soon. It's a question of time. I don't think they can continue. There's no way they can continue. It has, unfortunately, Zelensky took Ukraine to a point where even if they win, still they will lose the war. The fact is devastating. The whole country is gone. And there's one statistics which shows that almost 30% of the land is now in the hands of the United States.
Yes, correct.
Because the United States is giving money, it's not free. All the weapons that they're giving is not free. Not a single, they have to return. So almost 30% of the land is already in the hands of the United States. So whoever wins, doesn't matter, they have to pay to the United States today or tomorrow. So my point is, this is probably the beginning of Zelensky's end. Well, I've been saying this for quite some time, but I don't think Ukraine or Zelensky can continue the war the way they thought. And it's only time when the United States, particularly the military industrial complex again, when they will understand that it's not helping the American people, it's not helping the world, it's not helping the Europeans. I believe change is required and it will come. So this probably is the beginning of something new.
You raised one question, that what is going on between Russia and Ukraine, and you said that 30%, more than 30% land is already occupied by United States. I want to understand this from general who was a air commodore in the Air Force. Sir, how come this is possible? What is going on between two countries and money is making by other countries?
No, what Professor Imtiaz meant is that because of the debt servicing that is increasing, the Ukraine, not physically, but Ukraine financially will remain indebted to United States for a long time to come, unless there is something else. But thing is that everybody wants the war to end. The war by it started because of the NATO's expansion to the east, and the United States, Soviet Union, the Russia felt threatened because there was a time the Russia drew the red line that no more expansion towards the east, whereas they wanted an assurance from Ukraine that and the NATO that the Ukraine will not be joining NATO and the expansion will end, because NATO Russia by for generations they are threatened by their defense is their depth, and if the depth reduces and the border comes closer to Moscow, they feel that they will be overwhelmed. And this has happened in Hitler's time, this has happened with Napoleon, and long past in the Mongols and the Huns and everything. So this war was started because of this Ukrainian position and the NATO's position of So I think that how it can end is that there will be an agreement that there will be no further expansion of NATO. Ukraine will remain a neutral state and sort of at least not anti-Russian, and probably the border, there has to be some adjustment of the border. And most people are saying that the eastern part of Ukraine, which is mostly Russian speaking people, there have to be some sort of adjustment, either autonomy or maybe with the Russian. And of course the peninsula that was traditionally part of Russia will remain there. And what I find is that, also the miscalculation. Putin, the solution must appear to be that both sides are winners or not, at least not as serious losers. Because if Putin is shown that he is a loser, then he will lose his seat there. And same thing that if West and the NATO is supposed to be loser, then the question will come that what about the next? Maybe the Romania, maybe will there be a pressure on Poland to get back to the EU, to get out of NATO. So that must not happen. And also, sir, if you agree with me that the sovereignty, strong or weak, whatever it is, we have agreed more or less the sovereignty of the state must be maintained there, territorial integrity. So that is to be, if we compromise in one issue, the question comes, will there be a compromise on other countries or other issues? So we also, the pressure on, as the Ukraine is indebted, in fact the Russia is also heavily, they have been thrown back as far as the economy and the social structure is concerned. As an example, I can tell you that they are in so much of shortage of manpower that now they are recruiting from countries like Bangladesh to go and
which is called mercenaries.
Mercenaries, and poor chaps, because they don't know what they are going into, and they are dying and their bodies are coming back to Bangladesh. This also shows the desperation. Such a big nation, but running short of manpower, nobody wants to join. And especially those who are the elites of Russia. Putin's power base is not Russian people, but it is the, what do they call terminology? Oligarch. Their children have left Russia. They are maybe studying or living in Western world. So first they started with the the Kazakhs and the Turkmens and other small minorities, and now they are recruiting from North Korea, and they have also recruited from some African countries and including Bangladesh.
Sir,
this is a very sad state for the country that we have seen in the Soviet Union. It had a huge, in the 70s we were trained there. It had a huge dream for the underprivileged world,
Sir, as you have a very long defense career, I just want to do a funny question to you. I know this part of this question will make the program lighter. NATO is an alliance for security. NATO is an alliance to protect themselves. Why NATO is not inviting Russia to be part of NATO? I will ask the same question to you, sir.
and you asked him first.
Sir,
maybe
would you please take
this
part?
is
No, well, so it's a good question because if you look at the birth of NATO, one can understand when Soviet Union was present, and when West Germany joined NATO, that is the time when Warsaw Pact came into being. Warsaw Pact was not there before. It came after when
NATO.
West Germany joined NATO, because that was also one of the red lines that don't do this. But when the Soviet Union with Perestroika and Glasnost, when whole Soviet Union was dismantled, Warsaw Pact also got dismantled. Some of us actually we thought that NATO would get also will be dismantled. I remember one NATO military chief. I don't know whether Ishfaq Bhai was there. He came to BISS and was speaking, and I raised this question to him. I was a young chap at that time, and I said, what about NATO's future? Aren't you going to dismantle now that the Warsaw Pact is not there? And he said, no, we need NATO because there may be natural disaster, and so
or beyond NATO involvement, like in Iraq and Afghanistan.
The fellow could have easily said, no, we want to span. We have other agenda altogether. Yes. So now it looks that NATO is becoming a liability because the question is how far the European countries are independent. That's the question. I will go for an European NATO rather, or European security organization or alliance rather than an US backed kind of thing. So I think Donald Trump on this makes sense, because Donald Trump is saying that we are helping you, but you're not returning. I'm not getting anything.
So back. You have to give us money.
Yeah, look at what is happening in the United States. Infrastructure is really down. We are not in that stage as we were before. So you need to pay. So if they need to pay, I think they should rethink. They should start thinking of a European security alliance. We can come up with very beautiful names for that, and they can really become independent. They are not independent. Yes. I give you some of the figures. Germany has 119 US military bases. Italy has around 40. UK has, I think, 20 or something. Belgium has 14. How can you be an independent country? Just imagine Bangladesh having one or two foreign military base. Would you call Bangladesh independent? Come on. So let's be, I think one should be very open on this. When Soviet Union was there, I can understand having 119 military bases in Germany. So I tell my German friends, doesn't make any sense. You have 119 military bases, American bases. You can protect yourself. You have money. Why are you, bringing another country to help you out? So I think it's time, hopefully, the Europeans will wake up and start thinking of having their own security organization rather than depending on the United States.
Right, sir. Would you mind
as Professor Imtiaz was telling about the number of bases, if you ask the German government that Americans wants to withdraw, they won't agree. Because you see, the Americans are paying for their security. And while we are so sensitive about our country having even an American listening post if they want to have it, and if we come to know, there will be a huge street protest. In their country, they don't. They view things in different way. Number one. Number two, about the, I was in the United States doing staff college in 91, 92, and just after the dismantling of the Soviet Union. And there was, when Gorbachev was there was serious talk of, at that time, United States and Americans doing military exercises, and the Russian, students going to American Staff College and vice versa. And in fact, they had carried out some exercise around the Alaska, Western Siberia sort of air exercise and all. Because they were thinking that there is a new, as at that time, senior Bush was the president, and they were talking about the global democracy, and the peace dividend. They were talking about peace dividend. Then there will be a huge, carteling down of the military, and the money will be going for the welfare of, you see, third world and also. But that didn't work out, because soon the democracy did not survive in Russia the way democracy is seen in the West. it became as this say oligarchic state, and Putin came in. So they had to find a new enemy also. They are the same military as industrial complex. They don't like too much of peace, you see. So they have to have, you see, the hundreds of B-52s when we are there in 91, 92, hundreds of their bombers were being decommissioned and the bases were closing down. And again, interesting thing, the senators who are talking about the closing down, reducing the defense expenditures, but they were not ready to close down any of their bases in their own states. Well, you do it there, but not in my state, because this, they provide employment and all. So this is a very difficult cycle. But now that we are there, as I said, as we said, that maybe NATO will have to find out a new, action plan, or as he said, European security and the world. I mean, ultimately we have to live in peace. You see, now they have found out a new enemy, the China. You see, so maybe the
Yes,
words will become more powerful than NATO.
Sir, we'll go for a break, but I want to have a small comment on that. Every people know that America has base around the globe, but America is also host 7 foreign base inside America. Italy has a base, Germany has a base, Britain has 3 bases in United States, and UAE, I mean Dubai, I mean United Arab Emirates also has base in USA. How do you see this? Why they are hosting these bases, foreign bases inside the American soil?
Of course, it has a lot of power projection, if you would take it into account. Given the numbers of other countries having bases inside America, in the relationship where America has outnumbered that in other foreign sovereign states. However, the entire industry in America, the arms industry, they benefit of such military bases outside, and of course in the matter of mobilization, America can mobilize at any given time. Recently we've seen how they use the bombers without any kind of warning, without any kind of notice. They had bombed Iran and its nuclear facilities, even while there was no nuclear weapons as reported by the state. So of course America does hold such a power, but in recent times Europe understands how much interference America is having on the world stage, and this is where things get a bit drastic in terms of national security and sovereignty.
Thank you, sir. There are so many things still to discuss, and we'll go for a short break. We are coming soon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. A major US and EU trade deal was signed on July 26, I mean just day before yesterday, reducing tariffs on most European goods into the US market from 30% to 15%, with the EU eliminating many US export tariffs in return, including commitments of up to 600 billion investment and significant equipment purchases. There are some other clauses that Europe have to comply. Sir, why one country has different policies for different countries, different regions, different areas?
Well, two things. One is US, I think, has reached a position where they have to tackle their deficit. They have $38 trillion deficit, and there's no way US economy can continue 5 to 10 years from now, because the interest that they are paying for that 38 trillion deficit will become more than their defense expenditure. So that's unworkable. Let's put it that way. So I see merit in what Trump and Elon Musk that they were doing, trying to cut in one way, trying to cut the expenditure. And we have seen that they have discontinued their role in WHO, their
UNESCO,
UNESCO, and also US aid, literally. And you can see the number of people who lost job in the US State Department. And if he survives this midterm election, I think there will be also a drastic change in the World Bank and IMF also. If he gets that much mandate from American people, we have to wait. If he loses, the Democrats gets hold of the House of Rep and Senate, then that's a different story. But if Republican wins the way they came to power this time, IMF and World Bank will not be what it is. So my point here is there is a merit, because how do you stop this 38 trillion? Because they're just printing money. That's all. You know,
they're in trouble. That's all they do. They
they're
money.
Just printing it, and nobody is looking into it. And I think the Republicans are looking into it. But you can't sustain this. So the point is, how do you rectify this? So one way is you cut your expenses at home, and the other is get the tariff wall up. Forget who is a friend and who is a, earlier all the tariffs were against Iran, North Korea and all those things, Russia, and it doesn't make any sense. But these people are getting free lunch, free dinner, free everything, let's tax them. So I see merit in that. I don't think one should look negatively. Now point is how Bangladesh fits into it. Now I've been saying for quite some time that look, the United States is not giving tariff only to Bangladesh. It's going to be everyone. So what we need to see is what is our product and who is our competitor. For example, ready-made garments. Who are we competing with? We are competing with
China.
Vietnam. Well, China is a big one, but we are competing more with Vietnam, with Turkey, a little bit of India. These are competitors. So if we can manage in our negotiation to keep a margin where our product will be competitive to Vietnam, to Turkey, that's all that we need, because it's a capitalist world. So JCPenney or Walmart is not going to look into my face and come to me. They will see where the profit is. So if I can give the same product with a lower cost, that's all that is required. So I don't think we need to be so worried, because what I'm worried is that United States would try, because if you get scared and if you get worried, United States would say, okay, why don't you give me this, give me that, and Ishfaq Bhai was talking about, F-28, give me other thing. That is what I'm worried, because that I think would be very costly. So India, if you compete with other countries, look at how they are getting, what's the figure, and then work accordingly.
Sir, I will come to you. There are also inside America, there are also criticisms going on. Very outspoken Senator Lindsey Graham warned and criticized Donald Trump's policy may impose 100% tariffs on the countries like China, India and Brazil, those who are the biggest exporter to United States. The claim is they are buying the Russian oil, and Trump is imposing 100% tariffs. I want to ask Air Commodore Ishfaq Elahi, because he has expertise on international affairs as well. Do you think this is going to be work?
I think they should impose you on these countries because they are trying to get the benefit from both sides. So let the Americans impose their higher tariff on the Indians and the Chinese. It is better for us, you see. And we should, as I will agree with him, that we should try to improve our, first of all, most important, we should try to improve our negotiation skill. It is very unfortunate that we have on the international arena, whether it is diplomacy or business, we have very few people who can negotiate, and often we do not even involve them because of internal domestic political consideration. Sometimes the man is available, the person is available, but he is not called in, somebody else comes in and he does not know what he is signing for. We got into, you remember, we were joined the WTO without, before India or China, we were there and we did not know what we have signed for. So that must not happen. Another thing is that this is time to diversify. We always say that, this year we have beaten Vietnam in the garments export, but garments is a very small today. They started with garments, but today, Vietnam's $350 billion they are exporting light engineering and other things. We could have done the same thing. Our Waltons or things like that should have gone into the world market, but maybe we have not done our homework. Maybe we have not given the best of, we are only concentrating how to give more and more incentive to the garments, but we are not giving those to the other industries who are crying that you see. Semiconductors, for the example, you see the world's biggest. We have a prospect there. We are producing our expert people, but the business, this network is not coming up the way it came up in India, Bangalore, or New Delhi. So those are things we have to hear, and also about the balancing the trade deficit. Today there was a news item that we are buying some Boeing aircraft, okay? Maybe it's to please the Americans, but thing is that they putting money in Biman. I am not against Boeing. It's the world's now the topmost commercial aviation producer, okay? So, but where is the money going? Today, for 52 years, we have funneled our national economy into Biman, and we have been losing money, losing money. It's the same story with Air India. Is the same story with British Airways, is the same story with PIA, anyone who is state dependent. Whereas in our country, the private airlines are playing with the what you call the uneven playing field, and still they are growing. So this money, yes, we want to buy Boeing, but let this come through the, I would say, let this come through the private airlines. Give them incentive, let us have one or two at a time and let them grow up, and let them, you don't have to give them anything, but give them level playing field. The facilities that you extend to Biman, you give the same facilities to our, private airlines. Another thing I suggested this morning, I put it in my Facebook in public, that now is that everyone is talking we should modernize our Air Force, okay? Since after this, a lot of criticism that why for 30 years we haven't had anything, new. So this is the time we can buy some US military equipment, and I am talking about the fighter aircraft, even if they are not the latest, like I said, that aircraft like F-16 and F-15, which is really even 20 years old, if we buy them today at a bargaining price, we can still use them for another 20-25 years, no problem, you see, because of the advanced technology, metallurgy and supply and all. But then of course, when you buy American weapons, there is also in small, we should know what is written in the small print. There are some conditions implied. So that our negotiators will have to get the best out of it. But this is another area, just a thought, you see. So there is, we need to negotiate with strength. We don't have to bend down. Like you said that the Europeans have bent down so much. So why under pressure? Why are they still, it appears that the Americans are still their masters. You see, we don't have to be. I don't think we should do that. But we should get the best.
Sir, I was listening you very carefully as you are experienced from Air Force department. I just want to ask you one question. Bangladesh is a country not to attack any other countries, but Bangladesh is a country might be attacked by other countries. So do you think or do you advise Bangladesh to go for investment in offensive equipments or defensive equipments?
there is no offensive equipment and there is no defensive equipment. All weapons, you know, a rifle is an offensive weapon or defensive weapon? Tell me. It is both. You see, if somebody attacks you, you defend yourself with a rifle. You want to shoot somebody, you attack. So every weapon is a defensive weapon. Every weapon is an offensive weapon. Well, some are really defensive, you know. But when you design of the, you see, since 71 December, right? So we fought in the Liberation War, but after the Liberation War, since then, we have been spending almost the same amount, about 1.82% of our GDP for defense. And this has remained constant. Our GDP has increased, so has increased our defense budget. So our aim has been to, first of all, to have a position of, deterrence, a negotiation position, you know, whether it is on international level or within our borders. And second thing is to have the ability to operate in an environment. For example, you see, we are now one of the major contributor of UN peacekeeping mission. Our people are there in the deserts of Mali. Our people had been in the jungles of Cambodia and in the Haiti, tropical, all areas in different situations. Okay, so if they had no ability to, you see, operate and the practical knowledge, how will they operate? They will not be, and they are in fact bringing quite a bit of foreign exchange back to the country. Plus the image, the Bangladesh's image, I always call them our best ambassadors. Bangladesh is peacekeeping troops have been the best ambassador of Bangladesh. So we have to have that, and we have to have a position of, you know, as a sovereign country. We have to have a balanced defense posture. And that doesn't have to mean that we have to go and fight with somebody. As Professor Imtiaz says, we are the rare country in the world which has no territorial dispute. Every inch of our border is marked, and every inch of our territorial seas also
is settled.
Settled with both our neighbors. So, and we don't have an overseas base anywhere. So we are in peace with all, but to maintain that peace, we got to have our strength.
Very fair enough. Sir, I want to just ask you one question. When I was listening to very distinguished panelists today, very experienced on international affairs, do you find the failure of Bangladesh Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the concerned departments to negotiate tariffs with United States, even with other Western countries like European countries, and who is going to be responsible for this failure? Because Vietnam has done a tremendous job. They got down from 37 to 25. Yes. How do you see this?
Well, Mr. Kanchan, I was listening very carefully to Mr. Ilahi and of course Professor Imtiaz. And what I understand is right now, as of July 28 today, the tariff stays at the 35% for Bangladeshi goods. And of course, we had promised and ordered for 25 aircraft from Boeing. How much of so and how the current administration plans on implementing that into Biman or if not private carriers is definitely a matter to notice. However, I'm not of a believer that the United States would definitely bring the 35% down to the levels or in comparison with what we see in terms of Japan, if not Taiwan as well as South Korea. What they were initially slammed with 25%, which after negotiating it was brought down to 15%, as also similar with the US and EU as well. So America has a plan of bringing its friends down to 15%. Not quite sure of how much Bangladesh will fare, but it is we'll have to wait up until tomorrow and day after. But one of the things I also wanted to pick out, I was listening to Professor Imtiaz on the RMG industry. America and also big powers definitely take notice when two small nations, two third world nations are joining hands. Of course, they have a cultural divide. Let me elaborate. We have Burkina Faso and we have Bangladesh, and the latest trade deal is how we can be benefited as a nation by using Burkina Faso's cotton export, and how they can benefit in other industrial areas by using such a currency or by using the means of such a trade deal going on. definitely this will have an effect on other garment manufacturers, as most of the garments that there are, the fine fibers it requires, the fine cotton that is sourced from Burkina Faso. So once again, this would be one of the better news where Bangladesh is facing. However, in the face of this worldwide tariff war that the US is conducting, it would be fair if we could also share a 15% tariff as similar to EU and everyone else, which would of course bring our standpoint and our standing with America. But as Ishfaq Ilahi sir had said, negotiating skills should be the utmost priority to arrive at such a conclusion.
Very, very fair, sir. As we are in the last part of the program, I want to come to the domestic issues. Country is in a transition moment now. One interim government is running the country. Political parties are demanding elections. People are really scared what's going on around the country in terms of law and order situation. First, from you, sir, Ishfaq Ilahi sir, you have long experience on defense forces. I want to know what you urge to the people of this country, government of this country and political parties of this country, how to behave, how to run.
It is very unfortunate that today we are sitting here, and for you see 23 years, last 23 years I have been connected with the private universities very, very intimately. And I think yesterday or day before yesterday, some private university students for the first time were caught, you see,
Yes.
this, what do you call?
Bribery.
No,
Extortion.
not bribery. Extortion of money
Assault.
from Gulshan, right, where we are
Yes.
talking from. And this morning I carried out a search, and it has come in the newspaper also, the name of the university. Thankfully, the 3 universities that I served, they are not in that. So you see, this shows where we have gone. I mean, extortion has been going on, but they were mostly done by the public university students who are involved in politics. But this particular revolution, this one, was geared by private university students,
Yes.
And after a few months after August, most of them have gone back to the schools and colleges, and they are having their studies, and none of our boys are now involved, but the few ones who are taking advantage, they got into. So this is very sad, and is a challenge, and as the election comes closer, this challenge will keep on growing, you see. And another thing is that personally for me, I wish the election dates are announced as quickly as possible, and I have always been saying that we must get the military out from the street as early as possible. The longer they stray, is the greater the danger of loss of efficiency, military efficiency. You see, they are not recruited to be the policemen on the
Right.
street or traffic men.
Right,
They
sir.
have their own duties, they have their own training, and the less so the earlier the law and order situation improves, and government decides, and the government should bring the military back, and also rejuvenate the police. And as came out in the newspaper, one of the guy who has been arrested, he was a coordinator in the police commission, now police reform commission. Okay.
So, sir,
Now,
things are out of control.
really,
and
I mean
government
that is
should
There's no
something
uniform
which
direction.
our politicians, if they really want to rule tomorrow, come to the picture. They will. You see, the more unstable the country is today, the more unstable it will be tomorrow. So
Yes,
it
sir.
is better that we all
Yes,
sit
sir.
together, and that is
Sir, just last comment from
Okay.
Imtiaz sir regarding this.
No, I want to go back a little bit on the question of this weapons and F-28. What Bangladesh should do. Recently we had 2 wars. One is Iran-Israel war, and other one is India-Pakistan
India-Pakistan.
war. I think Bangladesh should take lessons from there. And the lesson is quite simple. The lesson is that the way Iran, how Iran could do what it did, nobody thought that Iran could do that. The reason nobody thought, because nobody looked into Iran's, the changes that was taking place in Iran. Back in 2005, they came out with their future plan. And in that plan, they have committed or invested in education. As we speak, the number of women scientists, Iran now has the largest women scientists in the world per capita. Unthinkable.
I understand, sir.
That they have done it.
Yes,
so
sir.
what I'm trying to say, the way Iran did it was to invest. They knew that the aircraft purchasing from outside is not going to give them security. So they invested in what? Missile technology and drone technology.
Right.
Okay. That made the difference. In fact, you have to have your own technology. You have to have your own weapon. You cannot secure yourself
Right, sir.
by
Depending
purchasing
on
whatever high tech. And I think Ishwar
Your-
he said it very lightly though.
Sir, your message is very
No,
loud.
I just one line. He said a little bit lightly that even if you buy with the years, they keep some of the things with them, with the numbers and the codes. So same thing happened with the Indo-Pakistan war. The reason why people would say Pakistan did a little bit better because of the technology,
Right, sir.
but the Rafale could not do what it did. So I think going back to your question, yes, election as quickly as possible. But when it comes to defense and security, I think one should start looking into some of the
Yes, sir.
things that have happened in the world and take lessons from there.
Sir, thank you so much. I really appreciate my very distinguished panelists today. They have given so much of insightful opinions and guidelines to us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are running really out of time. We will see you tomorrow.